Hey guys, I'm back again with more news about the censorship of DanMachi Memoria Freese. If you haven't been following my channel recently, go back and watch my last two videos to get yourself caught up, because today we're going to take a look at the statement Crunchyroll gave to Anime News Network. The archive link to the post will of course be in the description. There isn't too much in a way of new information here, but given that I have been following this closely, I felt compelled to update everyone, so let's read through and see what Crunchyroll has to say. We recently launched Memoria Freese as our first Crunchyroll game to bring both anime and gaming enthusiasts a new experience to connect through the content they love. As this was our first official game and included several partners, we had many moving parts that led to the official launch on March 30th, 2018. We apologize if there was any miscommunication around game features for the US version of Memoria Freese. Miscommunication, you say? Interesting. Labeling this a miscommunication is just flat out wrong. If you tell someone you're not censoring a game, and then you go and censor that game, that's not an error in communication, that's a misrepresentation of reality. In other words, it is a lie. I'd be willing to give them the benefit of the doubt and think that maybe they decided on this after giving that response, but seeing as how it was less than a day before the actual launch, I highly doubt it. You could even argue that maybe it was an internal miscommunication, but the next statement shuts down the idea that people within weren't aware of the censorship completely. Addressing the specific issue at hand, there was an interactive communication mode that was inadvertently included in some of our early promotional content. However, that feature was never intended to be released in the US version of the game. It was not our intent to miscommunicate to any of our players. So it was never intended to be included, and yet in a post featured in my first video, they still claimed there was no censorship. Just because you frame something as not being censored, that doesn't make it true. By definition of the word, if you remove a feature on the basis that it is deemed inappropriate for a certain market, that is the act of censoring the game. On top of that, they've openly admitted to accidentally falsely advertising features, which I find very interesting. You have people working on subtitles for the video, and yet somehow no one noticed that they translated and included a video advertising a feature they never intended to keep in there. The level of incompetence is astounding. Memoria Freese is a free-to-play mobile game for iOS and Android devices, and as part of the download process, users agree to a terms of service that acknowledges that we may update or make changes to both the game or user accounts at any time without notification. Now, admittedly, I am only a layman when it comes to these types of business practices, but I find it concerning that a company merely localizing a game reserves the right to make any change they see fit. That seems like a bit too much power for a localization team. If anything, that should be a right reserved for the actual developer. Even if the developer was okay with these terms, I think it's an error in judgment to allow them to have that much power over your product. Our Crunchyroll community is strong and passionate, and while we actively listen to their valuable feedback, we also must reserve the right to modify game features at any time. Translation: we claim to listen to your feedback regarding our practices, but ultimately we're going to do whatever we want regardless of what you say. Give us all your money. We plan to continue updating Memoria Freese and are working closely with partners to enhance this popular Japanese game for the US market. While there are many similarities between the Japanese and US releases, the markets and distribution partners are very different, so not all Japanese features are part of the US release. And there you have it. This is basically letting us know that in the future they will still make changes to Japanese games for the US market as they see fit, no matter how the consumers feel about it, because they can hide behind the ever-popular shield of localization, when in reality, what they really mean is censorship. Crunchyroll just cannot be trusted with foreign media, and any future releases shouldn't be supported by anyone who cares to play Japanese games as they were intended. This statement is nothing but a collective rehash of what they told the few consumers they responded to and their posts on the subreddit. At the time of this recording, however, there is still no mention of this statement anywhere on the main pages of their social media. Well, this has been a fun little saga, but unless Crunchyroll either adds the feature back in or does something completely outrageous in regards to this game, beyond what they've already done, this should be the last video on the topic. Thanks for joining me, and hopefully if you were someone that had planned to play this, you will not be supporting it, to show them that these kind of practices will not stand. Last but not least, links to the Twitter thread where I have compiled all of this information will be in the description and comment section, so do share that around if you can, and as always, thank you for listening. I'm the only one.